Hey folks, Ishlenz here, also known as Audible Agent. Got a request that I do a video specifically on this very unique lock that you see in front of you. So this is going to be a discussion on how I got here, just kind of related to 44 Delta and me personally, and how I'm evolving my skill set and my tool set. So yeah, let's get into it. So I guess let's start by just giving you kind of a close-up and talk about high level what this lock is. So this is an American 1100 lock that has been obviously highly modified. It has some interesting artistic designs going on pretty much all faces except for the top and except for the bottom. On the main face of the lock, you'll see a rather deep etching of a Grim Reaper skeleton, typical of what you see in the type of stuff I do. You can see his rib cage. You can see, some skulls kind of in the background, some kind of like fire emanating from his head. And you can see it's got, pretty good contrast. You've got some shiny aluminum bits showing through on the surface, and then darker areas in the background. On the sides, you'll see this kind of this sort of cracked stone appearance, and that is not a defect in the lock or anything like that. That is actually something I intentionally put in place. You'll see it on the back as well. On the back of the lock, you'll see 44 Delta. You'll see my logo skull, and then you'll see the words lock art, because that's kind of, I think, what I'm doing here. This is very different, I would say, from the locks I've had Paclock make for me. These are really cool in my opinion, but this is a one-off, and so I thought it was worthy of a different name, and so I'm calling it lock art because that's what it is. There's some other stuff going on. So if we look at the keys, each one you can see has the skull eyes kind of peering up at you. And then on the other side, you've got the 44 and the Delta triangle. So that's shown on both keys. And I kind of wanted something to go with the key set that I thought looked cool. So you've got this kind of stainless steel, blue teal anodized skull with the word lock art on it and the date that is that corresponds to when this lock was made. On the back, you've got the skull eyes again and kind of this, I don't know, coppery purple tone, which is pretty cool. And then it doesn't really stop there. So if we take the key and take this apart real quick, this is a functioning lock. Decided I would, one sec. Decided I would go ahead and etch the Bible as well. So you've got the concentric rings and the Delta symbol on both sides. So yeah, I guess I kind of wanted, before I talk about exactly what I did to create this, I sort of wanted to talk about how I got here and how I tend to learn things in general. So when I'm starting off with some sort of new tool, I usually do a ton of research up front, watch a lot of YouTube videos so that I know what I'm getting into. And, I need a project of some kind. So I start somewhere and I just try something, and it's usually a failure, but there are a lot of learnings from it, and it creates more questions for me, which I can go back and, get those questions answered by doing further research. And I just kind of iterate over and over on things like that. And so, I mentioned in a previous video that I recently acquired a laser engraver. It's a dual laser, so it can do blue diode laser, so that's one wavelength, and then it can do infrared laser. And those are meant for different things, like the blue light is meant more for wood and plastics, and the IR laser is meant more for metal. And so I thought, okay, I've got a laser engraver, laser etcher, let's just burn something. Let's see what happens. And so, grabbed a Covert Instruments pick and just threw down a bunch of skulls on it. And you can see, you get some kind of orangish coloration going on here, which is something I noted because I don't particularly like that color, but, there you go. Got, some stuff permanently etched on this pick. And then I thought, okay, let's try like aluminum, just see what happens. So I've got this aluminum follower here, and I don't know if you can make it out, but got the skull etched on the tail just for fun. That came out pretty well. I was happy with that. And then, I also mentioned in a previous video, I really like coins. I'm a coin collector. So I decided like, hey, I want to do a really deep 3-dimensional relief on a coin and just see how that turns out. And so, I am not an artist. I have tremendous respect for people who are true artists in the traditional sense, using their hands to sketch things or their hands to sculpt things. I can't draw, a doodle of a person. I literally do not have that part of my brain and hand-eye coordination working properly. So I have to rely on technology. And as such, I leverage AI to make my fever dreams come true. And so, the stuff you see that I am making in imagery is going to be all AI. Because that is a handicap of mine. I don't have it, but I do have, technical skills. And I try to use those to my advantage. So anyway, so here's another kind of Grim Reaper type skull with the Delta triangle on the forehead. And, this one, after it was, etched, the whole thing was kind of that burnt orange look. And this is a bronze coin. And so all I did was, hit the surface with some Scotch-Brite to bring out some of the natural bronze and give it that contrast. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was pretty happy with this outcome. And so, then I started playing around with stainless steel. So here's a stainless steel dog tag, and you can kind of see that really nasty coloration, which is something I learned how to get rid of. That's just a surface level oxide. And so you can easily, sand that away or use like a magic eraser and, scrub that off and get back down to the bare metal. But, that's kind of how it comes out after being etched. It's sort of a raw look and appearance, and generally requires some post-processing, which has been sort of a common theme in what I've been doing here. And, again, with the blue laser on stainless steel and on titanium, you can, if you control the speed and the power at which the laser is etching things, you can get different colors. So actually, this is probably a better example of that. So here's kind of a matrix of different speeds and power settings, and you can see you can get the different colors to pop. And that's just all about creating a different depth of oxide layer that ends up reflecting different wavelengths of visible light. So, so I obviously had a few successes and a few more trials and errors. Here's another coin I did. This one, the relief isn't very deep, and so it's kind of it's 3-dimensional, but it's pretty shallow. And I still like how this came out. This too was on a stainless steel coin. You can actually see the same thing on the other side, but this is without me doing any sort of post-processing on it. This is just raw, and then hitting it with, some sandpaper and buffing it a little bit, you get kind of a nicer sheen to it. And then here's a lock I did that I was pretty happy with. I posted this on Reddit. People seem to like it. This was a pretty deep etch. You can see it's got some serious depth to it. Got some crazy skulls, of course. And I was sort of thinking, like, is this something I want to possibly mass produce? And when I say mass produce, I'm thinking, 40 of these and make them for sale. And the answer is, I don't think so. Not one of this nature, for a couple of reasons. I mean, the first reason is I'm not sure I like the window perspective here on the content that was etched. I kind of, after making this lock, I sort of concluded that if I do any of these like more detailed 3-dimensional etches, they should really be like as much of the lock as possible, just because I didn't like that sort of box framed look to it. And, while it came out well after some post-processing, I just, I don't know, this wasn't the direction I wanted to go. You can see another one. You'll see a lot of like, test etches. So this one was very, very shallow. I think I only did a couple layers of etching on this, and that's an interesting effect. It's kind of like this dot matrix effect that you might see in somebody's a journalist's photo in a newspaper or something like that when they use the dot matrix art to kind of render their face. Did one in brass. It kind of had the same issue. I decided after the fact that I wasn't happy with this sort of square border, and that maybe I could follow it up with some other border that flattened everything down. And so it's got this sort of broken marble effect. But yeah, I could post-process this, but I'm not happy with the lines you can see that clearly denote the different areas and the different etching jobs that occurred. So brass is one I will do in more detail because, brass is beautiful, especially when you clean it up afterwards. So I'll definitely do one of those at some point. And then, this was more playing around. I wanted to see, how much I could polish the aluminum. So this one has a pretty nice sheen. You can see on the side here, I decided I would try to do a mirror finish, buffing this out on one side and leave the other side, the way it came after etching or after sanding it. So just playing around, getting more learnings. Actually, this is one of the first ones I did. So this was me trying to replicate essentially what Paclock does. They have basically like a 1-layer etch. They just etch away the anodized color in one pass. And so I wanted to see, can I do that? And obviously, yes, I can. So this is, I don't know, this is supposed to be like a zebra. It's very symmetric and kind of cool looking, kind of an alien looking zebra. I was trying to go for like some zebra patterning. I don't know, I thought that would look cool on the lock. But just more toying around. Another kind of 3-dimensional etch here. Not super deep, but kind of cool. And then this was, some more playing around last night, more failures really, but I wanted to do a nicer job of putting a logo on the side, because if I do end up making like 40 locks, somewhat similar to how Paclock has made them for me, I wanted to, I guess, get some practice, do a run on a single lock and start laying things out. And obviously these are, several of these are American locks, which is another lock I'll introduce into the lineup of etched locks that you'll be able to buy. But yeah, I threw the skull eyes on this, which I thought, by itself looked pretty cool. And I was trying to do a 3-dimensional etch down here, and I messed up the settings and just ended up with this white block. And so, yeah, this was a failure, but failures are how you learn. But anyway, that's, that leads us up to this. So, I got the learnings from all of these different locks and what to do, what settings to use. And I decided to really try hard and make a full etch on a lock across, as many surfaces as I could. And so again, fired up AI, and I use a mix of Midjourney and AI Make, which is part of Xtools creative space. And so, gave it some prompts and had it generate some stuff and found something I liked, which was this. And, again, I went really, really deep on this etch. I really wanted kind of a cracked marble look. And so I had it generate some cracked marble and, turn that into a depth map for the software to use. So it knows, on this pass, go this deep with, this power setting for this area, and keeps doing that layer by layer. And you get this cool cracked marble effect. And I carried that across to the back and the other side. And then of course on the back, you've just got my sort of standard branding. Got the 44 Delta sort of deeply etched in there, and the skull, and the word Lockhart and a date. And then these are all just sort of surface level etches, so they're not deep on the keys or anything like that. They're just at the surface level. But once I had this etched, it looked pretty raw, and so I really wanted to clean it up. Get the aluminum to pop a bit, but also get the lower level areas to be a nice dark black. So that way I had good contrast between the topmost features and darker areas in the background. And so to do that, all I did was use some aluminum blackener. So it's just a chemical process. You dab some of this aluminum blackener on there, and it turns the aluminum a dark black. And then you follow that up with some sandpaper. And with the sandpaper, you're just hitting the topmost surfaces, and that creates that pop. It lets that metal shine through just on the topmost surfaces, and you get that really nice three-dimensional effect. And same thing on this side, since there are actually grooves laser etched into this now, you get that cool marbling effect. Same thing with the reliefs of the skull logo and the 44 Delta logo. So this came out pretty well, pretty happy with this. And I did want to throw something in with the keys, just because I felt like it needed something, something shiny. Everybody likes shiny metal, right? So just a quick etch on this dog tag and on the keys and on the Bible. And so, what does that mean for 44 Delta with respect to this lock and other locks? I guess I'll start with this lock specifically. I think I'm going to put this up on eBay. And the reason for that is mainly, I don't know what I would ask for this in terms of price. Like, I am willing to let it go. I made it so that it could be something in the community. It's, obviously a couple days of work, and would cost more than the epic etches I've been doing to reflect the amount of labor. But, like I said, I'm not an artist. I'm making things that I think you could call artistic, but I'm not an artist in the traditional sense. And I don't feel right about putting a price on this. Because I honestly don't know. I'd probably either lowball myself or go too far the other direction and ask for too much for the wrong reasons. And so I kind of feel like the right move is to just put these one-off locks, which I do plan to do more of in different variations, but plan to put it on eBay and just let everyone else decide, what is this thing worth to them to have in their collection. And I should say, thank you to everybody that's purchased the Epic Etch locks, because as I called out in the product descriptions, the reason those are priced higher is so that 44 Delta can get different tools and offer different things. And this is the fruit of that, manifested. This exists because you guys showed a lot of support, both in the sort of mainstream things I'm making in terms of 3D printed tools, but also in the sort of merch category. You guys have shown a lot of love, and just, I wanted to say thank you, because that enables me and 44 Delta to do cooler and cooler things and, offer more to the community. So this will probably go up on eBay. However, I do want to do something in a bigger batch, like 40 or so locks, that is similar to what I've done with the Epic etches, but maybe is somewhere in between the ones I had Packlock make and this one, which I just made. I think the next one should stand out on its own. Now that I know what the laser etching tool can do, now that I've picked up those skills, I can offer something cooler than this for the same amount of money and with minimal effort. But it won't be, something like this, obviously. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions on this. I guess let me know. You know, some people have already hit me up and asked if they could just buy it directly, and I said no because, like I said, I don't know how to put a price on this. It's not priceless to me. You know, it's just sort of a fun exercise, and it seems like, you know, there are quite a few people who want to get their hands on it, which is great. You know, that's cool. But I'm not going to put a price on it. I'm certainly not going to select some person at random and say, yeah, you get this. Let's put it on eBay and just let somebody in the community who really wants it get it. Yeah, if anybody has any questions on, I guess, you know, the stuff I mentioned about, you know, locks I'll do and sell in the store, or the process of making this, or, you know, what tools I'm using to do this stuff, just hit me up in the comments below. But yeah, hope you like it. I think it's pretty cool. It was a lot of fun to make, and I look forward to making another one of these and to making some even better Epic Etch locks. So that's it for now. Thanks, guys.